Before we get to the exciting local news, because the Miami Dolphins make a splash at the start of free agency.
Going for it right now, Dano.
Yes. 9-8. Get everybody's other players that are expensive. Don't build too many of your own and just try and buy your way to victory. And it is exciting. But before we get to that, we have lost, Stugotz, a show friend. It is very sad. The legendary coach Bud Grant at the age of 95, still at the end, Stugotz, walking out onto the field in Minnesota before the elements were antiseptic, onto a cold field with a short sleeve shirt in his 90s because he was a grizzled old veteran of a man, and he had a garage sale that we would check in with. And one of my favorite memories on this show and at ESPN is me, myself, being too scared to ask the legendary drill sergeant coach how he wipes, sitting or standing. And Stugotz just rushed right into the breach. Like Stugotz fearlessly rushed in, unintimidated, and asked Bud Grant the pressing question of when you wipe, do you wipe standing or sitting?
Just an awkward and delicate question here. That we've been talking about all day, and I understand it's probably not appropriate, but I am curious, and we've been doing it with all our guests here. When going to the bathroom, Bud Grant, and finishing with his bathroom experience, the wiping experience, sitting or standing?
Repeat that. I didn't get the gist of that.
Make me repeat that.
You want me to try?
Yeah, you try it.
Bud, when after you have dinner tonight and you celebrate the garage sale, when you go to the bathroom afterwards, not one but two, Bud, will you sit or stand when you wipe?
Well, that depends on the consistency of what I'm doing.
Thank you, Bud.
You were stammering, man.
What are your finer moments, Stugotz?
Thank you, Mike.
I was scared, and I really was soothed by Stugotz rushing into the breach and saying, I've got this, Dan. I don't have any recollection of why we were insistent on asking Bud Grant this.
It was a weird time, and we weren't insistent on it.
No, we.
Let's play in remembrance of the old ball coach. I mean, very few have said football the way this guy says football, standing on the sideline. I mean, you think Mike Zimmer has a frozen face? You don't know Minnesota frozen faces.
The old ball coach is Steve Spurrier. That's a fine.
He's still with us.
Yeah, he's definitely.
That could be a $50 one.
Oh my God, it's $55.
This is the older ball coach.
Ye old ball coach.
Ye old.
The oldest.
Ye old. Ye. Okay, so
it's like old with an E at the end of
well,
it.
Well, Jeremy, and we will get to this Jalen Ramsey thing, and I want to get to Jimmy Butler too. So I'm grateful that Jeremy Taché is in here today to get to some of the local stories. But he did point out when we were talking before the show that the press release for the Vikings had some wording in it. I won't call it objectionable. I just don't think that it can be true.
This is one of my favorite passing away tweets of all time. We are absolutely devastated to announce legendary Minnesota Vikings head coach and Hall of Famer Bud Grant has passed away this morning at age 95. We, like all Vikings and NFL fans, are shocked and saddened by this terrible news. You cannot be shocked by a 95-year-old passing away.
Oh, yes, you can. I thought he'd live forever. I mean, get out of here. Jesus.
So did the Vikings.
Shocked.
So did the Vikings. Yes, you're not merely saddened. First, you're shocked because you thought he would be having garage sales forever. I don't know what the montage is that's been put together, but he took us on a tour of how it is that he negotiated his annual garage sale where he sold Vikings trinkets and at one point guns. The garage sale was a strange annual experience in Minnesota.
Yeah, we were fascinated by it as just a content piece that Bud Grant randomly had a garage sale. And as the show grew, we decided, hey, let's get Bud Grant on. So there were a few years there consecutively where it was just an annual call. Oh, it's in the calendar, Bud Grant's garage sale. Let's check in with Bud Grant.
I don't know why
old ball coach.
I don't know why we got away from it.
Fine.
No, ye oldest ball coach.
Okay.
Jeremy is correct, though. I do believe you're only allowed to be so shocked if assuming that Bud Grant suffers from the same mortal limits as the rest of us. Perhaps a wrong assumption, but today proven right, that assumption, because he is now gone, and we remember him and his time with us this way.
His garage sale starts tomorrow, 5 p.m. Central. No early birds. It runs all day Thursday and Friday until they run out. Can you just give us all the rules to the Bud Grant garage sale?
The rules: bring cash, no negotiation. It starts at 5 o'clock, and the reason we have it then is because that's when the people come that have the money are coming from work. I don't haggle. If you think it's too expensive or you can't afford it, don't buy it. If one person comes in and wants the left shoe of a former football player, that's what they get.
If someone today tries to get a picture with Bud Grant but does not buy an item, what happens?
They can take a picture. I'm not going to pose with them.
So they can just take a picture, right?
So they'll take a picture, but of you just walking by seething because they're not buying anything.
Well, if you come, you will buy.
Okay, all right.
It works out pretty good. It's a good time of the year to get out and enjoy weather and get some bargains.
So this is the 12th one, Bud. So what's the most money you've ever made with a single garage sale?
Do you work for the IRS?
No, you're not getting an answer to that question.
We don't take credit cards either, so come in cash.
All right, you got to come with that cash.
Yes.
And if they want an autograph on anything, it's $25. What's the strangest thing they've asked Bud Grant to autograph?
Oh, somebody had me autograph their butt one year, so that's the strangest one.
How did that go?
Quickly.
All right,
A little extra for that one? Or?
Bud, you should have charged a little extra. You should have said, you know what, it's going to be $30 for this one.
No.
Right.
Bud, can we talk to you again tomorrow? Can we call you tomorrow, or are you too busy tomorrow?
No, tomorrow I'm out on the driveway from 8 to 8.
How about Friday? Can we call you Friday and just check in with you to see how sales are going?
Friday, yeah, late morning, yes.
All right,
perfect.
we'll call you Friday. We'll check in with you Friday. Thank you, Bud. We appreciate it.
Okay, well, thank you, and whatever you can do about the rain, do it.
Okay, I'll take care of that for you. No problem.
And he was an arms dealer.
Yeah.
And he was selling guns.
It's a bit unfair. I mean,
Allegedly.
Come on, Dano. What are you doing? Disgracing the dead. What is this?
We were talking back here, and we like to think that Bud Grant's got a garage sale up in heaven, and all our show friends are stopping by. Like Alan Thicke with a snifter and an icy cold drink is just blub blub. How much for the Klein saucer?
Bud Grant's going to punch Thick in the face. I mean, seriously.
There might be. You can't come up with a better name with the Vikings that you would find at a garage sale than the Klein saucer. You won't do better than that. Find me a Viking with a better name that you can find at that Bud Grant garage sale in the sky.
Is a Vicente Shenko? We all saw his penis once.
Oh, yeah.
Not Bud Grant.
Not Alan Thicke's either. Vicente Shenko.
Yeah.
I want to get to Billy and Mike's experience at
Not a hog.
Was that necessary?
It was.
It
Huge
wasn't.
dick.
It was.
People were
Huge dick.
wondering. Yeah.
It wasn't.
You
necessary.
never forget it.
It wasn't.
If you saw it,
I
you'd
thought you
never
were gonna
forget
say
it.
it wasn't.
Dude's got a hammer.
Unusually thick. It's Alan Thicke's TV show. What are you talking about? And now what we're doing?
I will get to the World Baseball Classic that Billy and Mike Ryan attended yesterday. But before we do that, Stugotz, it is rare to get the guy at the top of free agency in a move that I think most of us were like, well, that's surprisingly cheap. A third-round pick and a tight end that around here is fairly nameless. That doesn't cost very much for what I believe to be in reputation, to be the name that I associate with covering people better than anyone in the league. Doesn't mean he doesn't get burned every once in a while, but Jalen Ramsey, I think of, Stugotz, I've told you this before, in the history of Florida State, only Deion Sanders has been a better football athlete for me than this guy. He's only 28, but I don't know how that sport burns up bodies when your Chris Sims of God Bless Football says he'll be a safety soon, and that his body is burned up, that the Rams and Jacksonville got the best years, the Brinks truck years, and that the Dolphins, what they're getting, as they try to replace Byron Jones, who just told us recently, can't jump, don't trust the doctors, injections, can't run. Their defense is predicated on these corners have to be good. Xavier Howard, whether injured or not, didn't look quite the same. They burned up 2 or 3 great Xavier Howard years without showing anything for it, and now they got a cornerback that I'm asking the group, what is he now? Because I do associate, I get excited when I hear this. I'm like, oh my God, this is good. Xavier Howard's going to be the second best corner on this team, but I don't know how to measure that position, what it does to the body. What's Chris Sims saying when he's saying he's going to be a safety in a couple of years? That's not how I look. If you're paying Jalen Ramsey that way, 2 years of guaranteed money,
that's not encouraging.
It's not. It's to get his prime. I mean, something that resembles his prime.
He wouldn't be the first Hall of Fame corner to make that transition later in his career. Charles Woodson won a Defensive Player of the Year after making such a change.
He plays physically. He's an elite tackler. He plays the game in a way that would use up the body. So how many years, Stugotz, is my question. Best athlete I've seen at FSU outside of Deion Sanders. How many years before that gets burned up?
I don't know the exact answer. I don't have that answer, but Chris Sims is saying he'll be a safety in a few years, which means for the next couple of years at least he'll be a cornerback. And so to have him and Howard, it seems on paper, it does, those two names, seems like they have a great defensive backfield, but I can't answer that question. I have no idea what kind of shape he's in. I have no idea.
It's not just them. Holland's great too. They're great in the.
He played throughout last season. He had a good battle with DK Metcalf, and he also got roasted on a game-winning touchdown. The compensation is interesting. It's because it's basically what you're giving up is your cap space because his number is huge, and now he's fully guaranteed for the next 2 years, which is why I think the compensation was so curious. And also
they're still one of the best cap space teams, though. They're still in good cap space position.
Well, that's why you need the Tua thing to work out.
And I still think he's a legit number 1 corner, right? He's top 9 in PFF grades. Obviously, the people that know how to do this is PFF more than us here in this room. They have him as a top 9 option at corner. If I told you, I'd give you a million guesses, and you would never get who the number 1 graded corner was for the Dolphins this past season.
I really don't know how, since Nnamdi Asomugha.
When a million guesses is a lot. Like they didn't have a million.
You would never get this.
He went Nnamdi Asomugha first, and that's wrong.
Mm-hmm. That is wrong.
Right, 999,000.
That's not what I was guessing. What I was saying.
He doesn't want to name another corner because I know only 2 of them.
Mike,
let it rip, Dan. You have a million of them.
I am in trouble because the last time that I checked in on how are we measuring cornerbacks, because I loved the days of Stugotz, every sports city in the league, football city, has a cornerback that they hate. The Miami Dolphins have had Patrick Surtain and Sam Madison. There have not been a lot of cornerbacks that people have loved. Terrell Buckley was somebody who was always getting flamed around here.
T-Buck.
And the getting of the corner is something that is fun, but I don't know how to measure because.
Okay, so he's named 4.
He's named 4 guys who are all wrong. Yeah, he's still have a lot. You give up, Dano? You ready for it? You ready?
He goes by Surtain now.
The PFF
Patrick
grade.
Surtain's son is one of the top 9.
He's number 2, by the way.
Yes.
He's number 2, by the way. PFF grade of 68.6. That's 36th in the league for minimum 150 snaps on corner. It's Kader Kohu.
I've never heard of that
Miami
person.
Dolphin grade. Kader Kohu.
No, he was running around at the end of the season deflecting passes against the Jets. And it's only because
you were watching on the floor, weren't you?
While I was yelling,
I saw you watching.
Byron Jones, the whole end of the season. What is the measurement that we're using on these people? Because it's a very difficult position to measure just watching
There's
it.
plenty of
Mike, it's not fair
quarterback ratings when they're targeted, the amount of catches when per target.
I don't think it's fair for you to say he was getting burned by DK Metcalf. Who doesn't? Like, it happens.
Well, he used to not be.
I mean, but he got burned by Mike Evans too.
Well, he used to be certifiably the best corner in the league, and now he's not the best corner in the league. He's still very, very good.
Top 9.
Yeah, he's still an excellent.
With overall, he's top 3.
There's no such thing as a corner who doesn't get beaten.
He gave up more touchdowns this year in individual coverage than any year before. So this is the most touchdowns he's given up. He got beat more than years past, but it's even been pointed out, like his last matchup of the year against DK Metcalf, he shut him down completely. He had 1 catch. So it was maybe inconsistent. Maybe he was giving up bombs. But when you look at PFF, and they know how to grade all of this much better than I would or any of us really, it's okay, there's some big plays here and there, but ultimately he's doing the complete game at corner and playing well against the run as well.
It's also a weird year for the Rams, and it's hard to really trust any of the data that we got.
Who's the second corner on that team?
Who's Rams?
Who's helping? Who's the safety play? What's the linebackers look like?
I've got
the Rams were
mash
the Rams.
Yeah, the Rams were just a total mash unit. If I may put on my Rob Lowe hat, this is really fun though for potential matchups twice a season with Stephon Diggs, and seeing Jalen Ramsey go up potentially against the likes of Aaron Rodgers twice a year. I'm very excited about this.
I think that the most interesting part about the last two seasons for the Dolphins is how aggressive they are about pushing all the chips to the center of the table of, well, if Jalen Ramsey's got 2 years left, we're going to take those 2 years and take whatever's left of Xavier Howard, and hopefully Holland stays healthy, and hopefully Chubb will help our pass rush, and we will be overwhelming defensively.
Restructured Chubb already. The NFL cap is not a real thing.
Well,
Just not.
But they're spending a lot of money on other people's players. That's generally not a great recipe.
It worked out for the Rams.
But this also comes at the same time that they just picked up Tua's fifth-year option. So to me, this also shows they really are going all in, and it seems to be that they're doing it around Tua with the belief that this is the guy with all of these surrounding pieces, with now Vic Fangio leading this new-look revamped defense that, hey, we're going to build it around Tua and see what happens from there. And that's really one of the more interesting fallout parts of them investing this way in the guaranteed money on Ramsey.
It seems that way now, but I have a hard time believing an organization is going for it right now, because they are, right? But going for it right now with a quarterback who can't stay healthy. Like, there has to be another move that's coming here, and that move is going to be Tom Brady.
It's Gardner Minshew is the next move. It's reports of Gardner Minshew according to Barry Jackson. What do you mean he looked good?
He looked good? What do you mean, Dan?
He looked good in one game against the Cowboys and then looked terrible the next game.
He looked good in one game versus the Cowboys.
They lost at home to the next game.
He was so bad the next game.
He was really terrible the next game.
Tough game. I got to see what the game was.
I don't want to
It
eschew.
was bad, Tony.
I don't want to eschew what we did last week. Allegedly, it was performative, but I do think that your roster now does look a little bit more attractive. And if we are in win now mode, come on, little goat.
I mean, it feels like Tampa, where it's just plug in Brady, plug in Gronk, and here we go. I mean, seriously, that's what it feels like.
And you just gave up a tight end.
I regret a couple of weeks ago not mentioning, because when people started rumoring on the free agent stuff, and Stugotz is going to be a fun week for you with Aaron Rodgers, but the Dolphins.
I really hope the Dolphins sign Tom Brady before the Jets get Aaron Rodgers. What is going on here?
I don't know.
They've made several moves before the moves.
I don't know. I mean,
they've made 6 roster moves over the last few days.
I'm starting to get angry. I'm starting to get impatient. I'm starting to get concerned. I feel like the Dolphins might be swooping in. I feel like there are other teams that might be swooping in. Make up your mind. Seriously.
How do you like
Let's
this?
go.
How do you like this playfulness that he has with Brandon Marshall? Where Billy, I could hear you. I could feel you seething.
Oh, it's not going to be long. It's already been like 6 months. Just say you're going to the Jets, okay? Like, everybody knows you're going to the Jets. We don't have to this big mystery. Like, oh, where is he gonna? Was he gonna retire? Is he gonna go to? No, he's gonna go to the Jets. Just say you're going to the Jets already. They've already agreed on a trade. Just say I'm going to the Jets, and we can be done with it and move on.
They've already
with our
agreed
lives.
on a trade. Are you reporting that? Like,
no, everybody knows. Yes,
Come on.
it's already been agreed upon.
We're just
They're just
He could
waiting.
just stay for $60 million in Green Bay, though.
They're waiting for him to say, look, he doesn't want to be there. They don't want him there.
That's
Exactly.
obvious, yep.
Like, just say you're going to the Jets already.
This ending in Green Bay, that's super strange. The pushing out of the legend, where you're just sort of saying, yeah, like, whatever. Well, these endings can always be awkward with the legend who's been there for 15 years, but the Packers being quoted publicly, their power people is saying, like, it's fine for him to go over there. We don't want him here so much. It's rare, Stugotz.
Easy to say now if you're the Packers, though, Dan. They did give him the option of opting in for $60 million.
Well, Stugotz, we're going to get the story soon, as soon as he leaves there, of all the people who didn't like him and why. The stories are going to come pouring forth as soon as he leaves those doors, because this is a hugely awkward ending for Aaron Rodgers. with the Packers. Oh, look at Billy smiling because he loves how awkward
No,
it is.
it's not. No, Dan, you're putting me in this corner. That's not what's going on. I was just thinking it'd be funny. Like, you know how we've seen all the Jets that are recruiting him and they're burning the cheese heads and they're like, it's pretty crappy what they're doing to poor Zach Wilson.
Yes.
It'd be funny if we start seeing the same thing from Packers players. We're like, go to the Jets, and they start putting out videos. Aaron, go.
Zach Wilson couldn't feel good about Sauce Gardner burning the cheesehead in his honor, in Aaron Rodgers' honor.
There's one way, though, where this is understandable to Zach Wilson, and it's Aaron Rodgers. I'm serious. Same with Tua, if they were to get Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers. You understand losing your job or just, being on the shelf for a year or two because Aaron Rodgers is the guy replacing you. You're okay with that?
Zach Wilson didn't play well enough to be entitled to anything.
Stu, why do you keep mentioning Aaron Rodgers with the Dolphins? We know that's not going to happen.
I don't know. There's a mystery team out there. Like, he's not saying yes. Say yes already. Let's go.
Team.
Okay.
Not a mystery.
What if it's Matthew Stafford? Is Zach Wilson okay to sit behind Matthew Stafford?
No.
Super Bowl champion.
No.
I mean, yeah,
they have the same amount of Super Bowls.
That's exactly right.
I'm fine with it. It will not be acceptable to Zach Wilson, is what I'm saying. It's like Steve Levy told us at the Super Bowl,
he
Billy.
was just being nice.
He said
He was
said
just
it's
being
one
nice.
thing losing your job to Joe Buck. I could understand that. I'm not as good as him. Zach Wilson doesn't think he's as good as Aaron Rodgers.
But you keep using this as like an example.
Well, it's a great example.
He was just being polite. What is he going to tell you? Like, I thought it was bullshit that I lost my job on Monday Night Football. He was just doing the thing where he says the nice thing.
I don't know. I felt like he was being honest there.
Stugotz
Leaves.
did really enjoy and has been citing for a number of different days that Steve Levy admitted out loud.
That's all I got. Yeah.
If you're going to lose your job to somebody, lose it to Joe Buck because he's better than I am.
Yeah.
He thought it was an alarming amount of self-awareness. How are you feeling about this nonsense, though, Stugotz? Because he is talking to Brandon Marshall and they're in front of a camera and it's just
couple of Jets cutting it up.
Gibberish and word salad. And it is an update. It represents news.
How was it meeting Woody Johnson? How was that meeting?
Oh, that was it's always interesting meeting important figures in the sport. Yeah, it's always interesting. That's all I'm giving you.
I'm just there now.
That's all I'm giving you.
A-Rod. Chemistry here. What we doing, A-Rod?
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned? How long we gotta wait?
Well, I think it won't be long. There's a time limit for all
this. Can I break the news?
He's not one of the most important figures in the sports. He's an embarrassment. I mean, I'm sorry, he is.
Hey, that's a former ambassador to Great Britain.
Right.
Woody Johnson is what you took from that. That's it wasn't the most awkward interview of the weekend, but only because Hugh Grant did what he did last night at the Oscars. We will have some Oscar coverage for you in the hour one of the show when Adnan Virk makes his appearance he was on the red carpet last night. But does it annoy you that because he even lowered his glasses and Brandon Marshall is looking into his eyes and somewhere nearby someone was, using that tool on a sound bowl.
What?
Whatever that.
No, I got it, Dano. I got it.
Whatever that tool.
The sound bowl. Yeah.
That tool is, I don't know where they were, but Aaron Rodgers is hijacking the entire free agent process, Stugotz, and you could just tell.
Was that interview done from like a Wickerman in Tulum?
Stugotz wrote me over the weekend that the reason that it's awkward is only because Aaron Rodgers is trying to negotiate the release of his Packer friends. That he's trying to get Randall Cobb to come over.
Yep.
That he's got just the 3 or 4 guys that he wants from the Packers to move over to the Jets with him.
Yeah, especially that guy Bakhtiari, whatever his name is. I am telling you, that guy Aaron is not going anywhere without that guy. He never goes anywhere without that guy. He was on the darkness retreat. When Aaron goes to the bathroom, you know who's there? Bakhtiari, okay? Like, he wants him to be a New York Jet. Otherwise, Aaron's not going. That's the key.
And if
Bakhtiari signs with the Jets, it's a done deal.
With Aaron Rodgers, I can't tell if Bakhtiari is an offensive lineman or a new deity.
Stu, you got Mekhi Becton, who's like 7 foot tall,
care.
400 pounds, like the greatest left tackle possibly of all time.
Whatever Aaron wants. He wants Jordy Nelson, you get him Jordy Nelson.
You could have just mumbled.
He wants
He's
Mark Chimera, you get him Mark Chimera.
You don't get
Chimera.
Chimera.
I take that back.
Yeah,
Who was that backup tight end a couple of years ago that he got really upset that they cut from like the practice squad?
It's like Degura or something.
You
Like,
should sign
Go
that
get him.
person. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you imagine him around the meeting with Woody Johnson wearing a silk robe that's open all the way, throwing firecrackers on the floor? We don't know what he's going to do, Stugotz. People assume he is going to the Jets.
We know what he's gonna do. Enough with this veil of mystery. Like no one knows what's going on. This is like it's the craziest thing. Like if we don't know how this is going to end, can it just end already? Why is this still going on?
Well, you said it was going to go on. You said that this guy.
I know, but why? But why is it still going
your
on?
Commentary, and you have proven more and more right by the day. For years, your analysis on Aaron Rodgers has been he's addicted to attention. Like it's almost your only take as it
but
regards to
doesn't
Aaron
want to
Rodgers.
admit it. That's the thing. It's like one thing if you admit it, right? Like I just like attention, and you're like, okay, like this person, like. But to pretend that you don't want this and like this is a hassle, like you could make it all stop at any moment. You're in charge of this. You're making this a thing. It doesn't have to be. Just say where you're going already.
He's waiting on Bakhtiari. I mean,
I like to think that Robert Saleh is eating Indian food with his hands, and there's someone doing that sound bowl in the background. And Aaron Rodgers was speaking for 20 minutes about his new religion, Odinani, and they were like, I don't know, just get Bakhtiari. And I think that's what he's asking for.
Also happening at the same time, Stugotz, while the Dolphins are getting into the game against Josh Allen and Aaron Rodgers and the Patriots, who never get involved in the free agency portions of this. More recently, they've done a little bit more of it, but for many years when they had Tom Brady, they don't do the move the Dolphins just did on Jalen Ramsey early in free agency and win the first day of free agency.
Last few years, they've been spending more money than anybody.
Yes,
They've been going full commander.
I think recently they spent the most free agent money in the history of the NFL in one offseason.
It was all
Correct.
in tight ends.
Yes.
2 tight ends that
It was
suck.
like Hunter
Yes.
Henry and someone else. Yeah.
But traditionally, though, before when they had Brady, they
He
didn't
loves
have,
tight ends, man.
It is the kind of thing you have to do when you're not sure about your quarterback, right? You got to when you're not totally. If you're totally sure about your quarterback, you don't really have to sign the 7 guys at the start of free agency. And the Dolphins are, I don't know, I really don't. They're being super aggressive, and the Bills seem like they might be vulnerable because they lose in the playoffs and they can't explain why they play
Bills are
that way
sitting
in the
back
playoffs.
going, we got this guy. We're fine. We're good. We got this guy. I mean,
We have to mention
they're
that
losing
Josh
players.
Allen did hurt his elbow.
yes.
But ever since that injury, they were not playing as well, and it kind of played into us not allowing ourselves to be surprised that Cincinnati did that, given what the form was looking like there. I think there are genuine questions as to whether or not, considering the cap number keeps going up on Josh Allen, as to whether or not we've seen the best of that incarnation of the Buffalo Bills. I think it's a fair question.
Well, you can question that if you want. I question, and I hate to do it at a time of hope because I'm excited that they're getting all the splashy names as well. But I question their ability to actually close the gap on Buffalo, Stugotz, because I believe that Buffalo will.
How big was the gap
The
last
gap was
year?
Skylar Thompson.
You guys are using one game there, and the Buffalo Bills for
No,
the
there's 3
entirety
games, Dan.
of the season.
There was like a differential of like 4 points in the
they
3
were-
games they played.
They were very close. They were very close.
The Bills during a 17-game sample were 13-4, and they scored a lot more points than their opponents did. The Dolphins were a 500 team, and their scoring differential was about even. There was
But
a pretty substantive.
We systematically picked that point differential thing apart. It was front loaded after post Josh Allen injury.
Mike,
they got fat off a bad team.
The Bills
They were plus 170.
After the injury, you are correct that Josh Allen and the Bills were less overwhelming, and it's why you
Dolphins
guys
were -2.
You guys were not surprised when they lost to the Bengals because it reinforces your opinion that you are right about the Bills being suspect. When Josh Allen got hurt, Josh Allen and the Bills stopped winning the way they were at the beginning of the season because they did get hurt a lot as a team. But both sides being healthy, the Bills, I thought, were better. I thought they were a better football team, and I believe that the Dolphins are now chasing.
I think
with
everyone's
less
conceding that to you.
I don't believe they are. No, I don't believe you are. I believe you guys are saying they played 3 games and they were close.
But
And the
you're saying-
difference is Skylar Thompson.
You said that
saying-
they're not closing the gap, and I think Jalen Ramsey can help close that gap.
You're also saying that the Bills didn't play well when their quarterback was injured. The Dolphins' quarterback missed like a quarter of the season with concussions.
And you fear that they will return? It's part of the programming and the formula as you measure them, is it not?
Yeah, especially with Tua.
Like what? He's more likely to be injured than Josh Allen. That's not like that. That feels
fair.
almost like a fact to me.
Yes.
That doesn't even feel like an opinion. It somehow feels like a fact. The way Josh Allen plays versus the way he plays, and it feels like a fact to say that Tua is more of an injury liability than Josh Allen is. And consistency at the position matters because the Bills were derailed the moment a part of Josh Allen's body got hurt.
But it's hard to say they haven't closed the gap. I understand what you're saying. Bills were plus 170. No. That's better than the Chiefs.
No,
the Chiefs
me.
were plus 127. But Brady puts them over the top, does he not?
Stugotz, forgive me. I don't mean to say that they don't close gap. I'm saying going all in aggressively with win now mode is usually something you do when you're ahead, not when you're behind. When you're the Bills, not when you're the Dolphins. When the Bills can make the assessment looking at it, we're better than this team. And they've lost some defensive players, but the Dolphins are trying to make up the gap by spending on Chubb, by spending these large chunks of money, the way the Bills got Von Miller to be a final piece. The Dolphins are playing as if they're piece away. They were 9-8, and they got outscored last year, and they've got an injury risk at quarterback.
Well, their general manager is also doing well, considering that they got punished and they don't have a draft pick. They found a way to improve this team with their draft picks, such that they were with guys like Bradley Chubb and Jalen Ramsey. These are plug-and-play guys. They're ready to go. You know what you can expect from them. With Chubb, there's more of a question mark when it comes to health.
What do you want the Dolphins to do? Not try to improve?
Killing it. I think they're killing it, considering how the odds are stacked against them and the ambiguity surrounding and the question marks surrounding their quarterback. I think this is as good as an offseason as you can dream of. Like, no one was anticipating Jalen Ramsey.
Billy,
that's a monster acquisition.
Just so that you understand, what I was going to say is that a couple of weeks ago, you saw some of the reports about they're in play for Ramsey and Waller, that because of having stronger tight end possibilities than the ones that they've had. So you're just even more overwhelming offensively. I don't mean to, I really don't. This is a positive day. It's a happy day. It's a hopeful day. This is the guy you want. I'm not actually criticizing this. I'm looking at it, and I'm simply saying to you that what they did last year with Bradley Chubb is they said, we're all in it for this year right now. We're trading the draft picks in the future for right now. And now you wasted that Bradley Chubb year because you were 9-8.
Well, their quarterback got hurt. What are you supposed to do?
But he
was hurt before the trade, though, too, guys.
He's likely to get hurt. He's more likely to get hurt than not, is he not?
Yeah, he is.
Did they not play this year? I don't know what to do here.
Yeah, going off of history. Look, Bills made a win now move, and Von Miller tore his ACL up. And that was that. That's always the risk in this sport. But I think they're loading up as many possible weapons for Vic Fangio on that defensive side as possible. They have to change their defense. Remember, that was their defensive coordinator was a part of the Brian Flores staff. Coach McDaniel evaluated it and wants to play a different style. And Fangio, they're giving him the weapons that he needs to. We know what he can do with Bradley Chubb, and we know what he can do with a top-tier corner. So if I'd be a Dolphin fan, I'm beyond ecstatic, and I would take offense if I'm just pounding my chest fan guy. We hung with them, and we had Skylar Thompson in the playoffs at Buffalo. This is an impossibly difficult place to play. They didn't look that much better than us, and when we played them, we beat them when we were down here.
They didn't even give up that much for Jalen Ramsey. Like, it's not like they gave up a ton of assets, and this is a win now. We're mortgaging the future on this play. That's not what they're doing.
What they gave up was some flexibility when it comes to extending some of their younger guys, Wilkins, and you're a season away from having a Waddle conversation. That's another reason why you can.
Salary cap. This is not when people think that the Rams got fleeced here, and of course, this is the trade, Stugotz, that every Dolphin fan always loves. I get the name, and it doesn't hurt what it is that I'm giving up. But what hurts here is the guaranteed money. And I'm not saying it does hurt.
Yeah, but you're getting a big name when you weren't expecting it and don't have a lot to offer.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it is very much win now. But nobody likes doing the analysis, Stugotz, after you get the big name of what are the salary cap implications. Nobody cares about that analysis. Nobody.
It's football. That money will figure itself out. It always does.
Yeah, that's true.
It's football money.
It's always a restructuring, and all these agents are in on it because they'll just get more up front, and it's fine.
No,
it's all funny money.
No, but the reason that they're win now is because their quarterback, they've got him at value now.
Yep.
They've got him. They will not have him at value. If he plays the way that he played in the games that he was healthy last year, they will not have him at value. Then it's the reason they have to do it this way, where it's like now we're trading all the Tunsil picks. Let's get Tyreek Hill.
There's two ways to do it in the NFL, and the Rams kind of invented a new way. Because I don't know how they fit everybody in there, but you see their roster's been totally stripped. Donald and Stafford are the lone holdovers, and that was a team that was absolutely loaded, and they're going to get rid of Allen Robinson here. But you can do the young quarterback thing where you have them on their rookie deal, and you start getting guys like Ramsey and Chubb around you, or what's happening in Kansas City, where now all of a sudden Frank Clark's gone. They had to lose Tyreek Hill. They're stripping pieces away, but you have the demigod over there at quarterback, and you live with that.
It's also easier and cheaper to pick up his fifth-year option than go out and give Lamar $250 million or give Derek Carr $150 million or sign Aaron Rodgers for $60 million a year, whatever it is. It almost seems like the Dolphins are loading up, giving to a one final season. This is it, Poppy. This is all you have right here. If you don't do it, we're going to go get somebody else.
Or you do it the way the Bucs did it.
I feel like we're arguing with ourselves. Like, we started with, why are they doing this? And this is the only way to do this because you have the quarterback cheap.
Billy, I don't understand why you're hearing an argument here. All we're doing is analyzing the pick they made. Like, I don't.
Well, because you were a hater.
Yeah.
Okay, if you guys want to do that.
It's a big day for the Dolphins.
Poo-pooing on this day.
You're player hating for real.
Yeah.
Be
happy, Dan.
If you want to hear player hating, why don't we run the video, even though this is largely audio, of Tyreek Hill beating a bunch of old people in a Masters race.
I have a question about this. I saw the video. Who is he racing? Like us?
It would have looked like that if he had run against the show. He was running in his sunglasses, and he doesn't like that people are criticizing that in the Masters division he wasn't exactly running against Usain Bolt. That it was a bunch of people who are not sprinters or not
He's
young
running
sprinters.
against a record. He's running against himself. He knows he's going to win the race. It was still an impressive time. The second most impressive time in the history of running that race.
With people who aren't legitimately sprinters.
So what? Wasn't even pushed and he did it.
He ran in sunglasses the whole time. They were not moving on his face. He was one of the few running in sunglasses. But I don't, as people.
Well, it was indoors.
It was
looks
indoors,
like
yeah.
so.
Yeah.
They're probably not necessary.
It's that when the wind is coming that fast because you're running that fast.
Who's the dude on the
That's
inside
true.
track? How did he get the
This is
inside
a weird.
track?
Like, what is this?
What is that guy?
What guy was running in pants?
Was running in windbreaker
There
pants.
was a guy running in jeans. There was a guy.
No lie, look at this guy. There's
The
a
guy
dude.
looks like me.
There's a
What is he
pear-shaped
doing?
guy.
There's a guy
an
running in
absolute
pants.
Pear-shaped guy running after Tyreek.
Most of the people in this race are in pants.
And he came in second.
He's the real legend.
Wait a minute. The actual,
There's one guy wearing Timbs. Well, there's one guy wearing Timbs.
the second place finisher has a tremendous mustache and a headband and is not a sprinter.
This is not like his jersey. This is. Are we getting punked? Is this a? Like, why does it say coffee on Tyreek Hill's
that's it.
jersey?
Sponsored
What is
by coffee.
happening? Is this staged?
Before paid actors?
This seems staged.
Crisis actors.
the guy
He's got a shirt that says coffee, and there's three dudes in
Mike,
pants.
Mike,
One guy's in construction boots.
The guy who finished last has a pear-shaped body, a shirt that is sleeveless, and he's tucked it deep inside his shorts.
What did you have to do to qualify? Show up?
Tyreek Hill beat these people by a lot, but it would have been like racing our show.
Honestly, he didn't win that race by nearly enough. I'd be concerned. I'm here to tell you, just based off of that video, Tyreek Hill's lost.
Also, a guy with soft tissue injuries. Let's not run track. How about that?
Yeah.
Speaking of concern, that was in Kansas, right? Tyreek Hill got on a flight to race those people. That wasn't around here.
Kansas?
He went to Kansas
Oh
for
my
this?
God.
Yes, I believe so. I don't believe that was here in Miami. But speaking of concern, Mike Ryan, the Miami Heat went to Orlando, and Jimmy Butler at the end of that game made a wholly ridiculous three.
Sorry, I'm watching it again right now. The guy in the
Why is it the
spot.
Masters? Like, who's a master there?
It's over 25. I think Masters just is a fancy way of saying older. I think.
He looks like he's racing golfers. Is that why it's the Masters? Is this the actual Masters?
This says Kentucky. Louisville, Kentucky.
But that guy in the first lane, he's never been a professional sprinter. He's not a master at anything. I mean, come on.
He does. He looks like a caddy. And he ran as if he was carrying the bag.
It's amazing.
I mean, Tyreek Hill should.
This is not a good look for Tyreek Hill.
He should be embarrassed by that. He should be. He should be embarrassed by beating those people by that much.
You know how when sprinters jump to get ready,
man.
he jumped over the next guy next to him. He jumped over him.
Yeah, but the guy in lane 5 is really selling it. Like, he looks like he's a sprinter. Lanes 1 and lane 2, those 2 lanes, forget it. I don't know who they are. That was the first time they've ever sprinted, the 2 of them, ever, in their lives. Period.
Tony, we got it. It's
amazing.
We got that you're trying to make the point that they've never run before.
I was so focused on Tyreek Hill and how fast he was, I did not notice lane 1.
There's one guy, he's just speed walking. There's one dude that's just speed walking. His feet never leave the ground.
What Tony said about at the beginning of the race, Tyreek Hill was just doing these sprinter jumps, and he was jumping higher than all of the participants in the race. Not that he was jumping higher than they were jumping. He was jumping over where their heads were. Because it's not that these sprinters were merely old. It seemed like and one of them out of shape. One of them is
straight up out of shape.
Yes.
One of them,
lane
like,
one.
why
Lane
is he in a
one.
running competition?
I mean, there is a shape. It's just round.
I have never
But they're
seen a heavy
small.
sprinter.
They're small, though.
When you see the guy on the inside, he's running impossibly slow, and you're so focused on how he's out of shape, and then you look next to him, and the guy right next to him is running even slower somehow.
The first time I saw the video, I didn't even notice Tyreek Hill because my eyes were just fixated on the inside lane. What is happening here? How is he there?
You cannot enjoy enough, Stugotz, the way that it launched.
All right, guest booking team, get me the guy in pants on the inside track.
Pants guy came in second to last. There was another guy slower than Pants
lane
guy.
2 is worse. It's amazing.
Get me the guys in this race. I need to speak with them because I'm pretty sure dude in construction boots thought he was going to win this.
It is so wonderful, Stugotz, to see the initial reaction of people seeing Tyreek Hill win by that much and not even take any inventory of who was running. It was just like, yeah, I know that person is fast. Holy shit, he's fast. And I put that video away. And I don't know anything about track and field. And I don't know anything about sprinting. And I don't think about it again until people start examining who he's running against. And then you realize why he won that by that much. And he's mad because he flew to Kentucky and people are criticizing him. And he's mad that people are criticizing him when he flew to Kentucky, it seems, exclusively to show off his speed. He knew what was going to happen in that race.
Damn, we have emergency refund del dia. That was tremendo paquete.
It was, yes, we should. Tremendo paquete is a tremendous package, is the literal translation.
Yeah.
But it's
speed
also
was not the only thing he was showing off.
It's like something that's like make believe. It's like this is fake. This can't be real.
If you want to watch us react to the clip, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube page. Thanks to our video team that really painted a vivid picture here. Get me the guy in pants.
Do you think everybody, when they lined up, do you think they knew Tyreek Hill was going to be there? Do they look over at the blocks and they're like, oh you
shit.
got to be kidding
the guy
me.
in pants, no way when he put
Guy
on
in
those
pants is like, I'm so beating
Tyreek
Tyreek
Hill.
No
He was on my fantasy
There
team.
is no way,
Why
Tony,
even try?
that when that guy in the morning put on those pants, he said, today I'm going to beat Tyreek Hill. I'm going to see Tyreek Hill at the track and wait till I come out. I'm going to get a quick start out of the gate and he's not going to be able to catch me.
Because lane 5 was the clear favorite before Tyreek Hill showed up. He was clear favorite. Like, that guy is, he's
like a late addition.
He's run 60 meters before.
Tyreek Hill, though, hadn't run in this kind of setting in like 8 years. So the guy in the pants, the parachute.
Lane 1 just looks straight up like an offensive lineman at the combine running a 40.
Slow off the block.
He did not finish in last.
No,
though.
the headband guy did.
You can't be a headband guy if you're coming in last in this race.
Guy in
Take
pants.
the goddamn headband off.
Guy
Throw it
in
away.
pants.
Just hang him up.
Go, Dano, look at him go.
In
Lane 1 and
fairness,
2 is where I'm at right now. I'm mad that Tyreek Hill's pulling away because I want to see
We
lane
need
1
a
and
second
2.
cam, like from the back angle.
Why does it say coffee?
Right, just zone in on lanes 1 and 2. I mean,
So confused by
Stugotz,
all of it.
we don't have the
I
camera
know,
work
I
to be
know,
able to
I
move
know.
around. We don't have
went to-
camera.
all right.
Stugotz thinks he's in the truck in Kentucky.
Tyreek Hill went to
He
a
wants
high
go
school.
to an interview with the guy in the pants.
Tyreek Hill went to coffee high school, so that we've cracked the coffee code.
Yep, it's Kansas, fine.
It was Kentucky.
It was Kentucky.
Oh, that's a fine for me.
I think Jeremy read the internet wrong.
Christ almighty.
Hey, listen, Dan owes 55, I owe 2, so 53 to you.
I do not owe 55. Before we get
We're
out
good
of
at Kentucky.
Killed Spurrier.
the local hour for the
The
day,
old ball coach.
ye older ball coach. Before we get out of here, Jimmy Butler things are happening both ways.
Dude,
Stugotz.
Jimmy Butler things have been happening all season long.
Weird year.
Everyone's kind of tired of this. I was kind of surprised that they decided to keep everything the same at the trade deadline. Well, they didn't try to. They tried to make moves. They tried to bring in Kevin Durant. But if you look at the Jimmy Butler experience, everywhere he goes, he always ends up to wear out his welcome. He gets frustrated with the surrounding talent and work ethic. I don't think the work ethic thing so much is a problem here, although Jimmy's quotes at the end of a postgame was saying we're bored with the process, which is kind of like a shot at the culture thing. But this is a Jimmy Butler experience. He burns bright, and it usually ends in a
But
burnout.
hold on, he's tired.
You emotional?
He's tired.
Yeah. Well, this is one of the more popular players in franchise history. I can understand that.
He's tired of the recent losing.
He's
and
playing very well.
He's scoring.
He is.
He had a career high the other day. His efficiencies are off the chart. He's playing a very difficult style of basketball, which is going and getting 15 free throws a game. And if you're doing that, you want your teammates to rise to the level that you're at. And they
he stormed off the court in Orlando.
But Mike, in Orlando, he makes the three at the end of the game, double teamed, absurd, a totally absurd three. It wasn't even the form on that shot was terrible because he had to get around two guys who were defending him very well. He makes the shot, and then they lose by double digits in overtime as only Gabe Vincent's taking the shots, and he's barely touching the ball.
This has been the Heat's experience all year long, where Jimmy has had this unbelievable season. I think a lot of us, if we would have said, hey, the Heat are going to struggle a bit this year to be what they were last year, you would have thought it was finally what would have been the obvious on a Tom Thibodeau used up body of Jimmy Butler breaking down, not being as efficient. He's having the most efficient season of his career, and he's only been better since the All-Star break. This team is just wildly inconsistent around him. The role players, I mean, you look at it, it's like they're desperate to figure out who the role players are going to be around Jimmy, in the way you see the Victor Oladipo usage rate ticking up now, where all of a sudden he's taking 13, 14, 15
Jeremy,
shots in a game.
I don't think they're wildly inconsistent around him. I think they're wildly consistent about being shitty at shooting, period.
Right,
really consistently shitty at shooting.
You could say that, but amongst the last couple of weeks, they've had some really big wins where they've shot 45% from three. They can do it. They're capable of it, and they've shown it. Not consistently. That's the problem.
The last month has provided so many games in which you're like, okay, this is the turning point of the season.
Exactly.
This is where they start stacking wins. And they had a difficult loss against the Cavs earlier in the week. They bounce back. Tyler Hero looks great. You think, okay, now they're going to start rounding into playoff form. And then they drop in an inexplicable game at Orlando.
Consistently inconsistent.
Man, I wouldn't say, look, I really don't like this analysis. They've been a largely mediocre 500 team.
Correct.
Some of their metrics, when they're healthy defensively, are very good. They beat people with very strong defense and free throw shooting, but they're terrible at scoring, period. Like you tell me that they can shoot 45% occasionally, but they're worst in the league at shooting from distance.
Which is what makes them a mediocre 500 team, because they're not capable of scoring the way that they're intending to, right? You have Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler playing incredible basketball all year long. Bam's taken sort of a tick down offensively the last couple of weeks, but that's with all the other responsibilities he had.
Skating?
A little bit, in that Tyler, when you talk about inconsistent, that's the guy who at the beginning of the year, I think the reason people thought this team might easily be able to turn around some of those struggles was all three, Tyler, Bam, and Jimmy, were playing incredible basketball. Now, you look at it at the end of the year, it's just two guys who were playing that all-star level basketball.
Has Bam been great? Has Bam turned into the player you guys thought he would turn into?
I thought he'd be more aggressive as a scorer.
He's
but
excellent.
But he has been all year.
I would say to you, Mike, and Orlando was a 2.5-point dog last night. Winning on the road in that sport is hard, and the Heat have no preordained right to win games on the road. They're not that good. They don't shoot that well. Like, I don't know why you'd expect them to just go and be winning road games.
Because they won road games last year. This is a team that
Yep.
I don't understand your question. Like, you think that this is who they are.
This is what they've been all year, is what I'm saying. The sample, like when a team tells you who they are.
You're allowed to be surprised when that team was who they were last year, and it's the same pieces, and they were within a bad call possibly
Mike,
of an NBA Finals.
They were one of the great shooting teams in the sport last year. They're bad. They're worse. Mike, they're not 24th in the league at shooting. They're worst in the sport at shooting the ball.
And they're missing open shots all year long. That's the part that's crazy.
It's the same guys.
Well, I can explain.
So last year was a fluke. But,
one guy.
But PJ Tucker tailed off at the end of last year, and you're counting on. Is it PJ Tucker?
Gabe Vincent hasn't been very good. Kyle Lowry hasn't been very good. You're talking about it's not just them. Max Strus hasn't been very good.
Well, this is where you go back to the role players that I was just mentioning before, where there's moments where those role players, any individual one of them, Victor Oladipo had a stretch earlier in the year before the ankle injury where he's healthy, he's closing games, the Heat win 7 out of 10, everything looks great, everybody's in their role. He goes out, now all of a sudden everybody forgets how to shoot. This whole team all year long, these guys, if you look across the roster, every single player except for Jimmy Butler is shooting worse from 3 than they did last year. It should be studied in a laboratory how it's possible that this team that's still getting open shots, they're still creating the same shots. Spoelstra's drawing up the same plays. Jimmy Butler's getting to his spaces. Bam's been more efficient. There's not really a reason why the shooting should be so bad, and it's why there's all these moments where when there's a win, you go, that's the turning point. Why when Amin and I are seeing each other at halftime of a game where they're losing by 25, we agree. If they just come back, you're going to believe, because it's all the same players who last year did this. And now you look at this same exact team and you just know they're not as good. They're just not as good as they were last year.
Make or miss league, Dan out.